Red flags for this area that you need to watch out for are you're always chasing. That finish line's always moving. This was me for sure. This was something I was very guilty of for a long time. I always wanted more, more, more. And when I would achieve it, it felt empty and I had to set the next targets. And it never allowed me to calm down and spend present time with the people that were so important. That's why this audit is very important. Or you could have no clarity and no direction. You may not know what is enough, right? All right, guys. So we're constantly auditing and adjusting. And as you level up, you get exposed to new things and new levels of things you could desire, want, or improved relationships, improved checking accounts, all of it, right? And so as we grow and expand, my expectations of myself grow and expand as well. So that's kind of where this audit comes into play. So during this lesson, we're going to go over how to evaluate yourself in all these areas. And first and foremost, this is the baseline of how you produce, right? We're building a strong foundation through these actions so that we can build upon them because your empire will only go as far as your foundational habits and structure will support, right? So you see a lot of times, and I've had experiences of this where you reach success, but you weren't necessarily ready for it. And then you go backwards, right? We've been in cycles that way before. We made more money, got a bonus, had a huge year, and then we regressed back to the level that we were comfortable at or knew or had grown into at that point in time. That's why these are super important to audit frequently, right? So ultimately, the biggest thing you can do when you go through this process, regardless of your score, you could have zero or you could have 100 or whatever, right? Um, you have to approach it with no shame because all we're trying to do is get a baseline. And being honest with yourself allows growth to happen, right? So maybe I'm a one in this category right now, but I want to put together a plan to grow my way to a five or a six right now, where it's more reasonable. Okay. And so let's go through this a little bit. So, describing how you evaluate these areas. Fitness, it revolves around your obviously your cardiovascular capacity, what you're eating, how you're exercising, what you feel about your body. And all of those are components, right? Are you consuming too much alcohol or drugs or pills or whatever, right? Like all these vices play into that, right? So if you have a low score, what you can expect is like fatigue and not being able to show up in the way you want to. You're going to experience burnout and stress unnecessarily. A high score means high energy, high productivity, high cognitive ability, right? For business owners, that's vitally important because we can spend more time in flow state and which allows us to produce more results. It also adds to longevity for us. If you take care of what you're consuming, putting in your mouth and eating on a regular basis, and you're exercising on a regular basis, studies support that you will live longer. Thus, you will spend more time with the people you love and the things that we're doing. And goes back to you are the asset, right? Ultimately, first and foremost, you've got to take care of yourself first and make sure that you can show up the way you need to show up in all these different areas so that we can continue to build what we're building, right? So, red flags would be in this particular area consistency or inconsistency. If you're only working out once a week, but you want to work out 5 times a week, but you're not showing up and you're making excuses because of time and things like that. And another one would be you're not tracking any metrics. It's really hard in any of these areas. If you've noticed any of our exercises that we put together, um, metrics are very important. There should be numbers associated with your particular goals and your particular behaviors because that's the way you actually track and change. A lot of times I deal with people, or even myself, you can lie to yourself and say, hey, I've been doing great with my fitness. And if you actually track it, the reality of it is, but I'm not getting the results I want. The reality of it is you're really only working out 50% of the time, 60% of the time that you actually think you are. And once you actually start tracking these numbers down to a granular level, you're going to expose yourself to the reality of what you're doing. Okay. Because like we've all been in a situation where we're like, man, I've been working out really hard recently. I was training for this particular thing, and I don't know why I'm not getting the results I'm looking for. And the reality of it is maybe you're like 64% of the time doing what you say you're going to be doing, but that leaves a huge gap of 36% of the time you're fucking off and doing the wrong thing. So identify those red flags, make sure you set metrics to what you're doing, how many times you're going to work out, what it's going to look like, all of that type of stuff. And then how often are you eating well? This is another one that people are guilty of all the time. Uh, do you eat solid nutritionally 80% of the time? Most people would tell you yes, 80% of the time, 90% of the time, they make good choices. But the reality of it is, track your food, and that'll tell the story. That those are the metrics in that area, right? You don't have to track your food. I'm not a big guy on that, but like the reality of it is if there's creep or you're not getting the results you want, it's usually lies in that. I'm going to go a little faster through each one because I don't want this to be a long video for you. um, so family, if you have a low score on that, what's that look like? It looks like disconnection, disconnection from your kids, scrolling on your phone constantly. But what that leads to is guilt, right? I should be spending more time on my business. I should be spending more time with my family. Are you feeling guilty if you have a low family score because you're not serving these relationships the way you want to? You're not touching them the way you want to. We need to get that up, right? A high score would be presence, presence with your wife, presence with your kids, presence with your relationships that are around you. You can leave work at work and be feeling good about things and pay attention to the moment that you're in. Alignment is a high score, right? Shared vision with your spouse is a huge one. We harp on this all the time in the Tactical Empire. Until you have an actual shared vision with your spouse, you really can't move at the pace you want to move towards your ultimate lifestyle, towards building your empire, towards having all the things that you want to do in life. And so, some red flags there in that area would be consistency in showing up for your kids or your wife. I mean, that's an obvious one. How much control do you have over your schedule? Stuff like that. And then do you do what you say you're going to do? And there's ways to gamify that and put in touches and touch points, date nights and one-on-ones with your kids, stuff like that, that you can build out into your family structure to improve your quality of life there. Finances, right? A low score in finances may reflect in stress. You wake up in the middle of the night thinking about your bills, thinking about your bank account, all of that, right? You're in survival mode. And another low score result would be you have no plan. Like if you're making good money, which most of the people that we work with are making a decent amount of money, they have a business or something like that that's producing profit, but they have no plan. So every time they make more money, their lifestyle creeps, things like that. So um, a high score in this area would be you have cash flow clarity. You know how much money's coming in on a regular basis. You see the trend. Is it improving, right? You're constantly sweeping off money for investments. You have a narrow focus on your investing life, and you know what your asset classes are that you're plowing your profits into. Okay. You have a known BAM or bare ass minimum if you haven't went through the 7 levels of financial freedom, right? That's the first level of what we're trying to work towards passively or with investment income to meet your needs for your family's bare ass minimum. So you want to understand that. Red flags in the financial area would be paycheck dependency, meaning like you can't get out of your W 2 job if you're a W 2 guy. You can't not go to work and sell if you own a business because the bills won't get paid, right? You have to show up, trade dollars for hours to make that happen, right? And then we've already discussed it, but lifestyle creep would be another red flag. You have to be careful about increasing your lifestyle as you're on this growth trajectory. It's very important to delay gratification. That's why we say 2 to 7 years to financial freedom, because you have to spend that time delaying the gratification and plowing your money back into your investments so that they're producing for you. And then your money's working for you. Your dollars that you're bringing in and working so hard, skipping time with your family to invest in, start paying you back as a dividend and a return on investment. So then you get more of your time back. That's the way the cycle works. And then freedom is the final F, right? So a low freedom score could be because you have calendar slavery, right? and you don't have the ability to choose how you spend your days. You're reactive and maybe you're bitter about your business. We talk about building a cage often, right? And we built a business that we thought we were going to fall in love with, but now the business owns us. And we have to show up every day at a certain time to produce the results that are necessary for our family because of that lifestyle creep, right? And that doesn't make you mentally free or provide the life that you're looking for. We're looking for peace of mind, location, and time freedom that allow us to pursue the things we enjoy and work in our zone of genius. So even if you haven't delegated at work, if you haven't hired that next hire, that might be something that is lowering your freedom score because you have to show up and do something that you don't enjoy doing any longer. So that's these are all types of things we work on within our community. A high freedom score would be you have calendar control. You have freedom over your time, right? Location, time freedom. That's what we're searching for. And then you have that peace of mind at the end. So ultimately, it all distills down to this freedom score where you want to be going with it. You have peace of mind. You enjoy this season of life that you're in. Red flags for this area that you need to watch out for are you're always chasing. That finish line's always moving. This was me for sure. This was something I was very guilty of for a long time. I always wanted more, more, more. And when I would achieve it, it felt empty and I had to set the next targets. And it never allowed me to calm down and spend present time with the people that were so important to me. That's why this audit is very important. Or you could have no clarity and no direction. You may not know what is enough, right? A lot of times people think they need these big numbers. We talk to people all the time that are like, I need to get $5 million, I need to get to $10 million or whatever. And they're very arbitrary round numbers. The reality of it is in our cash flow system, if you start producing a certain amount of money, starting with BAM, your BAM, once that's met, you truly are free and have more optionality. And then the next step is that current lifestyle number. And once you hit that, you are truly free because your investment income is covering your current lifestyle. Now, then, do you want to raise your lifestyle? Well, yes, should be the answer. Then we need to go ahead and stay in the delayed gratification mode for a period of time until that is met, right? So I hope this helps. I hope it puts clarity into your 4F's audit. It's just more to think about on your end, but ultimately those numbers should be constantly expanding. So if you went tens across the board and you scored as high as possible, you're probably not stretching yourself near. Well, I know you're not reaching your capacity because the score should be low in that your pursuit of what perfection looks like is constantly moving for you. And then you're auditing the habits, you're auditing the foundation and making tweaks to improve your life in all areas because this is an expansive flywheel. It expands as you grow. And it's a constant trajectory of growth over an entire lifetime. Okay. Hope this helps, guys. Let me know if you have questions. Thank you again.